What is going on, Alabama fans? Before we get into today's show, want to ask you guys to do one thing for me. Go over to my Twitter, @ChrisChatSports, and give me a follow. Go ahead and check out my pinned tweet as well. I've got highlights right there of one of the newest quarterback targets for the Crimson Tide in this 2026 recruiting class. So do me a favor, go over to my Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. Give me a follow and check out those highlights. Now, yesterday, Alabama did offer two more quarterbacks in this 2026 recruiting cycle. First off, Houston commit Keisean Henderson and also Derek Zammitt out of that 2026 recruiting class. Now, Keisean Henderson is a guy that, you might have watched just a month ago or so at one of the Under Armour All-American games. One of the top players in this 2026 recruiting cycle, five-star quarterback, number 2 athlete. Some schools wanted him as a wide receiver. Some schools want him as a quarterback. Alabama now offering him as a quarterback. Now, like I said, Alabama went and offered him. He is committed right now to Houston. He ended up committing to Houston on May 27th, 2024. And Houston coach Willie Fritz offered him at his time at Tulane as a quarterback. That's kind of how the two really got together. He was the first coach to offer him as a quarterback, and that really sparked an interest there with Keisean Henderson. Like I said, some teams were talking to him and wanted him more as a wide receiver, but he's very adamant he wants to play quarterback at the next level in college football and beyond. He also says he's fully committed to Houston right now, but will also take some visits to some other schools. So we'll see how committed he is after those, official visits really start rolling in for Keisean Henderson there. He was the MVP of the Navy All-American Bowl, where he went 3 for 5 passing for 146 yards. So, obviously, there's a lot of players there. There's a lot of quarterbacks. So going 3 for 5 on just a couple of drives, 146 passing yards, also had 30 rushing yards as well. That's pretty solid. I think he even had like a 90-yard touchdown pass in that game or something like that. Had a very impressive junior season, 65% completion percentage, over 2,600 passing yards, also 25 passing touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns. Also ran the ball for over 300 yards as well. And I'll be honest, I don't really know anything about track, but as a sophomore, he had a 22-foot long jump. And to me, that seems very impressive. He's, a very good athlete, has a very nice deep ball as well. He does throw to a lot of wide open wide receivers. It's just kind of how it is sometimes, but he does hit them in stride. And at the end of the day, that's all you could really ask for, right? One of his highlights I saw, he threw a deep ball about 40 yards in the air just off of his back foot for a long touchdown. So very nice deep ball. He's got a pretty solid arm on him as well. He's got really solid playmaking ability with his feet, but he's not just primarily a runner. He does a lot of things with his arm as well. Like I said, he's committed to Houston right now, but he does also say NIL is not a big factor in his recruitment. Remember back last year, Keelan Russell committed to SMU before taking that official visit to Alabama. Ended up flipping just a couple of days later, so we'll see if Alabama can get him on campus for an official visit, and we'll see where things go from there. Now, right now, you've only got 3 quarterbacks on this Alabama quarterback room right now. So how many quarterbacks do you think? You probably got Ty Simpson leaving off to the NFL after next year, so you're only going to have 2. So how many quarterbacks do you guys think Alabama will take in this 2026 recruiting cycle? Type 1 if you think it's only going to be 1, or type 2 if you think it's going to be 2. It's the pinned comment of today's video, so if that ad comes here on YouTube, that is totally fine. You guys can ignore it. Get down there and let me know what you guys think. Now, a couple more uncommitted quarterback targets right now that I just wanted to touch on as well. There's some more offers out there, but there's some more players that are just committed to other schools right now, so I figure not really going to touch on them. Jared Curtis is the number 1 quarterback in this 2026 recruiting class, number 2 player overall, and the number 1 player out of the state of Tennessee. You also got Ryder Lyons, which definitely on the all-name 2026 team, in my opinion. He's also the number 3 quarterback in this recruiting cycle, number 12 player overall, the number 3 player from the state of California, and then also new offer from yesterday as well, Derek Zammitt. He's a 4-star, a little bit lower ranked, number 22 quarterback in this class, but also is the number 4 player from the state of New Jersey. So at least he's kind of, top of the charts, at least in his state rankings. He's just going to have to be a player that you're just going to have to trust the evaluation on from this coaching staff. We'll continue with some more news here in just a second, but you guys can go over to Fanatics. Just go to chatsports.com/CFB hoodies. They've got Alabama hoodies up to 50% off right now. They've got hoodies. They've got quarter zips. They've got a whole lot of Alabama gear out there. Should be a little clickable link over there in the corner of your screen as well. Just go over to chatsports.com/CFB hoodies. You guys can get up to 50% off and get your swag for Alabama spring, A-Day, and next fall coming up as well. Now, Alabama, I'm guessing Alabama released this. I saw it on 247 Sports, but I really wasn't able to find it anywhere else. They got their spring practice dates here. Alabama's going to have 15 total practices, which is not something that we didn't already know. They always have 15 total practices for their spring practice schedule. March 27th will be their first scrimmage. April 4th will be the second scrimmage for them. And then, of course, you've got A-Day on April 12th. TBD on whatever time the A-Day game is going to be for Alabama. We'll let you guys know when we figure that out. But that does raise one thing about the A-Day game and these spring games that I wanted to touch on. There are multiple schools out there now that are deciding to cancel their spring game. Texas, just the most recent one. Steve Sarkisian went and told the media today that Texas was not going to have their spring game. And I do understand the thought process behind this. You got the spring transfer portal window out there, and you don't want to give other teams an opportunity to scout your team before the spring transfer portal rolls around, especially with this just blatant tampering that's going on right now in college football. But look, it does suck for the fans, right? You want to see your teams play, whether that's in the spring or the fall, it doesn't really matter. You just want to go out there and have an opportunity to see your team hit the field. My hope is that they can get something into place that at least limits this tampering a little bit. I don't think you're ever really going to get rid of all of it, but I would love to see something happen to where they could at least limit some of this tampering going on in college football, because the spring transfer portal window right now, to me, is the only one that really makes sense. I think it's so stupid that there is a transfer portal window during the college football playoffs. Teams are doing so many things during that point of the year. They're trying to prepare for a game, whether that's a bowl game or a playoff game. You also have the early signing period there in December. Add on top of that, you're trying to manage your roster now, mid-playoffs or bowl season. You got guys leaving, trying to hit the transfer portal, trying to convince guys to stay as well. Then because you have guys leaving, you also have to go out there and you have to scout other players on other teams to try to fill that void and fill those positions that you're losing from the transfer portal. And then you also have transfer portal visits that you have to deal with as well. So look, there's a lot of people out there that really do think the amount of work that these coaches do, that they're just superhuman. It's just, there's so many things during a small but important time of the year that these coaches are having to deal with. Having a transfer portal window during, December just doesn't make any sense at all to me. I think the fix there is really just to have one transfer portal window in the spring. Now, that doesn't really fix the, spring game cancellations, but I think it does help in some other areas. That's as long anyways as the transfer portal even exists. You got players now that are suing the NCAA and trying, and that are just leaving schools now without even hitting the transfer portal. So I don't know what the future is going to be with the transfer portal, but right now, man, college football is just the wild, wild west right now. So let me know what you guys think here in the comments section. Type one word and one word only. What is your one-word reaction to teams canceling their spring games? Texas did it. You saw Nebraska kind of hinting at the idea. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's show. Last up, before we get out of here, Alabama hired a new member for this Alabama coaching staff. They hired former Patriots wide receiver Tyler Hughes to now be one of the 11 analysts for this Alabama coaching staff next season. He takes the place of John McNulty, who took a job at Rutgers now. He had a job there a couple of seasons ago, came to Alabama last year, now going back to Rutgers. Hughes was on the 2023 Washington staff as well as an analyst. So he's worked with Ryan Grubb, he's worked with Nick Sheridan, Jamarcus Shepard, all those guys on the offensive side of the ball that were also on that coaching staff at Washington. So he knows kind of, the way they run things, how they like to look at things, and some of the things, basically how they run things at the end of the day. Now, this was his second stint with the New England Patriots. He was an offensive assistant there from 2020 to 2022 before taking the wide receiver coaching job in 2023 under first-year head coach Gerard Mayo. Kalen DeBoer, look, man, he just continues to bring these coaches in that he is familiar with and that helped bring Washington to the national championship in 2023. And I'm just very excited about all the positive momentum that this team really has going into year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. You got rid of some coaches. You brought some new coaches in that you're more familiar with, you have more trust in. You also lost some players to the transfer portal that, let's just be honest, might have been cancers on the team. So I do think that there is a lot of positive momentum for Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama team going into year 2. Now, we will be live for A-Day on April 12th for our Alabama football watch party. So do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button for me right now.